Okay, we are live. This is the Producers Hangout, episode 26. This week we have a special guest with us, Paul Maddox of Modal Electronics. And before I get to him, I am Flux of fluxwithit.com, and with me is my co-host here, Mike of padbangers.com. Mike, why don't you say hello?
What's up, guys? Mike here, padbangers.com. Very glad that Paul is joining us today and telling us a little bit about their fantastic synthesizer, the Modulus 002. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, and with us is Paul Maddox. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the company as well?
Okay, hi, I'm Paul Maddox. I'm one of the co-founders of Modal Electronics. I've been tinkering with electronics and musical things since I was about sort of that tall. And it was 2013, myself and my business partner got together and sort of said, hey, why don't we build a synthesizer company? And here we are today.
Okay. And the synthesizer that you guys are have debuted and is the first off the block is the Modulus 02. 002 or 02?
002.
002. Okay, we're going to keep it British. And as you can see, the build quality is extremely good. I have one right here. It's fantastic. Mostly white, and just really well. The build on mine isn't quite as good as the final product. But this is what you get when you ask for a premium synthesizer to be sent to you.
Those were flying off the shelves at NAMM.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. They, But I will say that I kind of put this together not just as a joke, but because I kind of wanted to get a top-down look at the layout. And in videos, we can see that the Modulus 02 has like this wonderful screen on it, big chunky knobs on it. But when you look down at it, it kind of makes sense how it's laid out, how everything has its own little section. So it's kind of cool to see it, if you can print these out from the website and then cut it and build it yourself. And then it'll kind of give you an idea of how everything's laid out, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was part of the idea. The other is also to give it a little bit of fun and something to give away that people could take away at NAMM. So yeah.
Yeah, the Modulus 02. How long has it been in the works? How long has it been that you started making it?
Well, my business partner and I started the company in July 2013, and it was kind of greenfield from there to when we launched it, which was the end of July 2014. It does reuse a fair bit of technology and bits and pieces that I've been working on over the last sort of more years than I care to mention. So it's a sort of natural evolvement of the way things have gone with the products I've been working on. So
this is not the first synthesizer that you've ever worked on. Before this, you had another synthesizer that you burnt your fingers to the bone on.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in building synthesis?
Well, I've always had an interest in electronics. I was fixing televisions and things from my grandparents and stuff when I was like 9 and 10. And then when I was about 12, I got into electronic music, specifically a band called Tangerine Dream and an album called Tangram, and that just got me hooked. So it kind of seemed like a natural thing to bring the two together. So I got my electronics and I got my music and synthesizers. So it's just sort of evolved from there.
So I'm going to share this up on my screen here. This is the product that we're talking about. This does not look like a first foray. Like the build quality, the layout, the design, everything looks very well thought out.
Thank you.
Can you walk us through a little bit of the aesthetics on this and what your thinking was when you were kind of coming up with the idea and what your thoughts were on compromises and those sorts of things?
Yeah, I mean, well, Philip.
Can I ask you real quick?
Yeah.
Did you guys design the whole layout yourself, or was there some kind of product specialist involved for the design?
Yeah, it's all done in-house. Yeah, we have a very clever graphic artist called Sam who did all the layout and the look and everything. So it's all done in-house.
Really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, our design philosophy was Philip and I grew up in the 80s, and back then when you bought a synthesizer, it was something you invested in. You know, sort of £800-900 then was like 4 or 5 months' salary, and you invested in it, and it was built to last. It felt like it was solid. It felt like it was quality, and I think modern synthesizers, they don't feel like that anymore. They feel very plastic and very disposable. Like, yeah, you can buy this one, but you won't want it next year. You'll want another one. And we kind of feel that's killed the market a little bit. So we wanted to bring back high-end manufacturing, top quality finish. You know, we wanted to bring back the best of breed again, which is what people were used to back in the 80s.
Now, with that mindset involved, so you have the price point listed right up here on the front here. It's not a cheap product, and the build quality kind of lends to that as well. Can we talk a little bit about the guts of this thing? What you're kind of building it on, the platform?
Yeah, I've got a picture here which I'll share if you want.
Sure.
There we go. If I get these buttons right.
Before we do that,
yeah.
Do we want to play a little bit of sound so people who are not familiar with the synth so far get an idea what it sounds like?
Why don't you go ahead and play some right now?
Okay, let's see. Okay, so far for first impression.
So yeah, why don't you walk us through basically the guts of this thing? Now, unlike a lot of modern synthesizers that we see today, even a lot of the modern analog poly synthesizers that we're seeing today, most of them are like maybe a board or two, a couple of daughter boards. This looks stuffed.
This is pretty stuffed. There's 10 boards in this, and they're all custom designed boards. So there's no special or obscure bits and pieces. The philosophy was, again, this is going back to when Philip and I were younger, when you bought a synth, you knew you'd be around for 5 years and you'd be able to fix it in 5 years. So in this, we've gone to great effort not to use any particular custom DSPs or special chips or anything else. So there's about 4,500 parts in this. So there is a lot in there to go in there.
The that center section with the boards that are stacked, is that all filters right there, or?
That's the voices, and yeah, each voice has got its discrete transistor ladder filter and all the various VCAs and bits and pieces that make it do what it does. So yeah, there's 12 voices there. So you can see there's 3 boards, and you can see 4 on each board.
And where is this manufactured at?
Everything's manufactured in the UK. All the PCBs are assembled in the UK. The case is made in the UK. The end cheeks are made in the UK. The displays are UK design. Yeah, pretty much everything. I think the knobs are about the only bit that isn't made in the UK.
Absolutely fantastic. The white on white inside of here kind of lends itself to that very clean Apple-esque design aesthetic, and just really, I mean, everything looks really beautiful inside of there. Did you draw some inspiration from that sort of mindset?
Yeah, I mean, we again, this is. I'm not going to say I'm an Apple fanboy, but I like their design approach and their philosophy, and that it should look good as a product from when you get the box to when you open the box to when you're using it to when you're working with it, when you've got it inside to do a repair. It should all feel very clean and very organized and very nice, and that's one of the things we wanted to bring back.
Well, touching from that aspect of it, one of the really interesting features about this product is that it has an Ethernet port on it, and you don't really hear about too many analog synthesizers having an Ethernet port on them. Can you talk to us a little bit about that design idea and what you have going on there?
Yeah, well, Philip and I both come from IT backgrounds and working with computer systems at various places, and it kind of struck us as a bit daft. You know, I've got my mobile phone. If I want to send you a contact, I send you one contact. I don't send you my whole address book. And I can do that with my tablet and my laptop. So why can't I do that with a synthesizer? Why can't I just share a patch or a sequence? Or why can't I work collaboratively with you over the internet and share stuff? It just seems kind of backwards that technology from the synthesizers, as in the terms of the control and the manipulation and the user side, hasn't progressed in 30 years, which is insane. So that's what we wanted to do, classic sounds, but with modern technology.
So what exactly are some of the benefits of that port? So I can send you a patch. So if I have a unit in my studio and you're in the UK and you have a unit there, I can be a sound designer working on a patch here and say, okay, well, let me send this patch off to you.
Yep, you can do that. And one of the things we're building in is we'll be building in some DRM. So not only can you send that patch to me, you can be sure that I don't then send it on to someone else and you've lost out on some revenue. So
we can actually have a way of kind of using it as a sales model as well.
Yeah, in much the same way as, again, going back to the Apple thing, it's iTunes in a way, but it's for sound designers. The thing to highlight is we're not actually interested in taking any money from that. We want to provide this as a service because we feel its synthesizers should have had this for a long time and they haven't. So we're not taking any money from that. We'll put the structure in place. But it does mean if you're just working with someone on a project, you can ensure that you two can share sounds, but nobody else can get those sounds. So it keeps your band sound and your band's identity just your own.
Very interesting. Now, we're getting some messages in the chat here over in the Facebook group, the Producers Hangout, and they're asking about sending the output via MIDI. Or is it MIDI data that's being sent out over the Ethernet, or what sort of data is this that's being sent out of the Ethernet port?
So right at the moment, you for the Ethernet port, you can update via the internet. So you plug it in and you just press the button twice and it updates itself. You don't have to mess around with sysx files and USB sticks and custom uploaders and stuff. So we've done away with all that complexity. We are working on a release which will give you a web page editor, so you'll be able to edit bits and pieces via the web page, so you don't need custom VST plugins, anything that will support HTML5, so your Android phone, your iPhone, your laptop, tablet, whatever. MIDI HD is something we're looking at. We're waiting for it to finish being ratified and standardized, but we're also looking at things like OSC and that sort of thing as well. So yeah, these are all things we're looking at and we plan on implementing at some point in the future.
That's really cool. That's really cool. When I think about updating my Moog device, which is now 6 months old, is always like a pain in the ass because you always have to mess with those sysx data sending around. Sometimes it's sending too fast and it breaks the whole updating process. So it's really a hassle to update it every time. It's always fingers crossing to hope everything goes right. So this is a really good solution here.
Yeah, I mean, for example, we've just issued to our beta testers a huge update, which is multi-timbrality. So it's quite a big rewrite, and it's about a 40 meg update, which doesn't sound that big in this day and age. But if you do that via MIDI sysx, you'll be there for about 4 days.
Yeah.
So this takes a couple of minutes to download and about 15 minutes to install, and it reboots, and you're off with the latest version. So I mean, that's one of the things we wanted to bring in. It's a lot quicker and easier to update.
Yeah, it looks wonderful. So you have that cloud button just right there on the front, so you can just quickly and easily get to it, and it's not a difficult procedure to kind of jump right in.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, that's cloud buttons there really for sharing and saving of patches and that kind of thing. Yeah, we wanted to make it simple and easy to use.
Was there anything about the patch saving and the sharing aspect of it that was kind of more difficult than you expected, or did it seem to just kind of fit right in?
It's all just kind of fitting in. I mean, there's a lot of work to do, and we're working very hard. I mean, we've now got a team of 10 people, and 5 of those are software guys. So there's a lot of work going on with the software, and I think there's been some obstacles, but I don't think there's anything that's caught us as really hard to do.
The other aspect about this that I wanted to talk about was the idea of using the hybrid synthesis. So you're using digital oscillators with analog filters. Can you tell us a little bit about the oscillators and how you're producing the sound with the oscillators?
Yeah, the oscillators are what's called numerically controlled oscillators. So they're not DSP. They run with a technique that's called variable sample rate playback. So unlike DSPs where you have a fixed sample rate, you'll find as you get nearer and nearer or higher and higher on the keyboard, your sawtooth will go from this nice sharp edge and it'll gradually fold as they'll remove all the harmonics. Because otherwise you get this effect called aliasing, or what should be called as frequency mirroring, and it sounds like horrible ring modulation of all the wrong kind that's just unmusical. With our oscillators, because we don't have a fixed sample rate, we don't suffer with that. So if you think of it in terms of a fixed sample rate, it's like 360 kilohertz or something. It's way above audio, so we don't have those problems. But like I say, it's a variable sample rate, not a fixed sample rate. The oscillators are all distinct and individual, so we designed them like analog synthesis. There isn't a common clock. They all run off their own little clocks. So what this means is they're not perfect. If you set the two oscillators on a voice to zero detune with zero note difference, they are still very slightly out of phase and very slightly out of tune, only by fractions of a hertz, but it's enough to give it some character and some warmth. We like the flexibility of the digital oscillators, so we've got lots of waveforms in there and we can do lots of great things with them. But I love the sound of classic filters, and my all-time favorite is the transistor ladder filter. So we took that classic filter, but we added a twist. So we've given, you can take the 4-pole output, so get the classic sort of warm, I'm trying to avoid saying the word, classic warm synth sounds from synthesizer companies back in the 80s. But there's a knob on it called slope, which lets you turn it from 4-pole through to bandpass, through to 1-pole. So at the 1-pole end, you get the big, bright, fizzy sounds, and at the 4-pole end, you get a nice, rich, warm, deep sounds. And in the middle, you get this bandpass. But you could, if the 4-pole's too big for your mix, you can just roll off a little bit at the bottom end, and sort of take it a little bit of the way towards bandpass. So it gives you a lot more flexibility than any other filter configuration I've seen.
So the oscillators, I assume you're using a digital to audio converter before it goes into the filter.
Yep.
What sort of converter are you using for that?
It's blimey! It's an 8-bit parallel loading DAC. It runs at up to about megahertz, and it literally it's just whatever you feed in, it just pumps straight out as a voltage. There's no clocking of it or delay. It's as soon as the numbers are there on the ports of the chip, it's straight out into analog land.
And are you doing because I have to ask so many detailed questions because I haven't had a chance to dive into it myself. Can you tell us a little bit about the modulation routings?
Oh, excuse me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the modulation routings are pretty flexible. We've got 2 LFOs. We've got 2 LFOs. We've got 2 envelopes. And the LFOs you can route to pretty much anything you want to with most synthesizers. Some of the more obscure modulation routings aren't there, but pretty much all the common ones are. We've also got a thing called the animator, which it sounds a bit like an 80s sci-fi film, but it's not. It's think of it as a step sequencer that's 32 columns wide, so 32 steps, but 12 rows deep. And any row can be any parameter on the synthesizer. So you could have a row changing waveform, you could have a row changing filter cutoff, a row changing LFO rate, or any of those sorts of bits and pieces. And each step can have its own length as well, and it's syncable to MIDI. So it's not like we've only got 2 LFOs and 2 envelope generators. We've got this really complicated sort of extra set of 12 LFOs, envelopes, sequencer kind of thing that does a lot more than just an LFO could ever do.
Now, are the modulation routings set in stone, or are these things that can be tweaked and changed through firmware updates, or is this something more, based in the hardware?
I mean, some of them are set in stone because we've got an analog filter and an analog circuit. We can't change everything in software. So, yeah, some of them are set in stone, but some of them we can change and update in software.
So I'm getting a question in the chat room also about longevity of the modulus, and basically the question is how practical is the unit for gigging, and is it a true expectation for it to last 5 to 10 years? And they're wondering if you guys plan to be around for 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So hang on, let's start with the last one first. Yeah, we're planning on being around for as long as both myself and my business partner are alive, and I'm hoping that's going to be a lot longer than 20 years. We're taking this very seriously. We're not an artisan production company. We're not making just 10 of these or 20 of these. We've sold over 105 months. Team's grown from the original 4 or 5 people it was sort of 2 years, a year and a half ago, to 10 now. Yeah, we're here and we're here to stay. I think the parts we've used, we've tried to avoid custom parts. I think there's one special part in there. The rest of it are pretty much off-the-shelf parts, so there's no reason why in 5-10 years' time it shouldn't be serviceable. The one specialish part is a part we've put in another way of using. So if it does fail and it's not available in 5 years' time, hey, there's an alternative. You can do this, and that's it. It's off again. So we've done as much as we can to make it future-proof, because much like your CS80s or your Jupiter 6s, you can still use them. And we want people to still be loving our product 20, 30 years' time.
And that's a significant mentality, considering the current throwaway culture, especially as it pertains to mass-producing synthesizers, and you see a lot of synths and key beds that are falling apart. That's something that we should talk about, actually, is your key bed. Tell us a little bit about how you selected the key bed and what sort of key bed you're using.
We basically went and tried several other synthesizers keyboards out, and did found some that we liked, found some we didn't like, and then the ones we liked we looked at closer, and we got in touch with the companies that made them, and eventually we settled on a Fatal mechanism, which is it's a semi-weighted, it's got velocity, it's got aftertouch, and it's got a real beautiful feel to it. It feels and oozes quality. Some of the other synthesizers we played with seem to be these very cheap, plasticky, Chinesey things, and I just get the feeling that they're not going to last more than 5-6 years. And again, we want people to be using our product for as long as they're alive.
Yeah, so the build quality of this, like the knobs, they're turned aluminum, yeah.
Yeah, turned aluminum or aluminium, yeah, whichever way you want to say it. Yeah, they're designed by a company in Switzerland. So yeah, we got Swiss turned aluminium knobs on our synthesizer.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah. But again, it come back to the. So I use the analogy of guitars, which is I can go into a guitar shop and I can pay $50-$60 for a guitar. I can go and pay $5,000 for a guitar. One's going to feel like an instrument, one's going to feel like a toy. And what we wanted to do, yeah, we're expensive, but we wanted to bring a quality instrument that people are going to touch and feel and go, this is it, I get it, I want it. It's an instrument, it's something they're going to keep coming back to and keep using time and time again.
So a couple of questions that I always like to ask people when they come on the show. What is some of your all-time favorite synthesizers? If you had to select a synthesizer, that would be the synthesizer that you stuck with and was your favorite synthesizer, aside from your own product.
Oh, that's not fair. That's cheating.
What synthesizer inspires you and is something that you latch on to as a favorite?
I think it's a close call between two, but I think the one that stands out above would be a PPG Wave 2.2 or 2.3.
Interesting selection.
Just because they had that right mix of digital and analog, and they were very flexible, and you could do a lot with them.
Let me. I want to show this right quick here. Let me see if I can pull this sucker up.
I got a question in between here.
Sure.
On your website, it says you have 4 different key modes: polyphonic, monophonic, unison, and stack mode.
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit what stack mode exactly means?
Okay, if I take a step back, you know what unison is?
Yes.
Yeah, you press a note, you get all 12 voices. With our unison mode, you can adjust the number of voices. So you can have 2 voices if 12 is a bit too big, or 6 if you want something a bit bigger. There's also a parameter called spread that does like a sort of detune of the oscillator, so it sort of fans them out, gives it a nice rich sound. Now, what we wanted to do was to take that a step further. So in stack mode, you get a combination of unison and poly mode. So if you pick a number of stack size of 3, for each note you press, you get 3 voices playing, and you can adjust the spread and the detune of them. But that means you've then got 4 notes of polyphony. So you can get quite big, rich pads very quickly and easily.
So you're building in that kind of flexibility of how you go ahead and use it. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
Now this guy right here that I'm screen sharing right now, okay, I'm sharing this for a reason. Now these were built by hand, yeah?
Yeah. The bottom one of those 3 is my prototype, which I still have.
Oh, okay, excellent.
The second one up is a beta unit, and the third one up was a production unit. But yeah, I built all of those by hand.
Okay, and those, what sort of lessons did you learn from doing that sort of product?
Never to use a soldering iron again. No. Each one of those had about 1,500 solder joints in, and I did them all by hand. And it took about 2 weeks of my spare time to build each one. So yeah, I kind of got a bit, I think, frustrated with having done that for so long and done. Because I built, I think there was 30, maybe 35 of those, and you know they sound great, and I love them to pieces. But yeah, I just learned that manufacturing and hand soldering wasn't for me. I think that was probably the biggest lesson.
So that synthesizer though, it kind of there was a good sized gap in between when you did that and when you started work on this synthesizer as well. In the meantime, what sort of projects were you involved in?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, good question. So I took probably 3-4 years off after doing that because it's like, no, I've had enough of soldering. I don't ever want to see electronics ever again. That's it. I've had enough. And then I kind of got the bug again, and I wanted to get back into building synthesizers. So I built a little sequencer. The idea being it would be a test tool because at that time I had no MIDI keyboards or controllers or anything. So I thought, I'll build myself a little sequencer. I can send notes and then I can check my synth's behaving as it should. That sequencer turned into a product called Gorf. I sold about 450 of those around the world. It's a tiny little thing, sort of 100 mil by about 80 mil. 8 steps, but you can chain patterns, you can do bank plays. It's quite a powerful little MIDI sequencer and got quite a cult following. Following on from that, I built a drum pattern programmer. I've always liked the style of programming on the 909. Thought it was great. Scary picture. So I love the style of programming on the 909. So I did a little drum pattern programmer. Then I did a little pocket synthesizer called Zyra, which was just it was a load of new old stock Korg DW8000 chips that I got hold of at a really good price, and I thought, you know, how small can I make a synth? So I made a little mono synth that was 100 by 80 mil, but it only had 4 knobs and it had lots of pages, so it wasn't the easiest of things to use. So, and then, like I say, then I got chatting with my business partner, and we looked at the market and said, you know what, the market's now about right, so let's go ahead and build a polysynth.
The step sequencer on this, did you do most of the programming for that step sequencer? Did you do all of that? And it's basically, it's 12 tracks, 32 steps, correct?
It's a bit more than that. So, firstly, no, I didn't do the programming. That's done by one of our guys in-house called Liam, who's a really top-notch software developer. I gave him the ideas, I gave him the step sequences I've made and said, this is what we want to make, but we want to make it bigger and better. So you've got 32 steps, and you've got 12 definable rows. There are rows for step length, velocity, gate length, and that sort of thing as well. So these 12 rows can be a note, or it can be a MIDI CC, or it can be an internal parameter. You've then got 12 tracks of that set of 12. So yeah, it's quite a powerful sequencer.
Very nice.
For the I got another question. You decided to use a joystick here and not like a classic mod and pitch wheel, and especially not one of the newer touch strips. Is there a reason why you decided for the joystick?
There's several reasons. It's a good question. The first reason was I've always kind of liked the Korg joystick thing. Yeah, I've always found it more flexible than pitch bend and modulation wheel because I'm not having to use two fingers and do sort of crazy things with my hands. I just got this thing, I move it. The other thing is it gives me another axis of control. I haven't got just pitch bend and modulation. I've got pitch bend, modulation, and filter cutoff, for example. So I've got a lot more expression in the sound that I'm playing. The reason we didn't go for touch strips is problems when you're playing in like humid hot climates. They can stop working or they can cause problems where the heat and the moisture gets in. And it's just one of those things that I thought, again, we want this to be built to last and to be usable again and again and again. So, yeah, we could have done, but we kind of felt the joystick was the right option for us.
Tell me a little bit about the ends there.
Yeah. Well, most people think they're wood, but they're not. They're actually leather. There's 4 layers of high-grade leather on the end.
Here, let me do my spit take. No. Where did the idea for putting leather on your synthesizer come from?
Well, we wanted, again, it to look good and feel good and to be top quality. And, you know, being British, we're slightly eccentric and slightly mad. And everyone uses wood on their trees. And I know this is going to sound a little bit odd, but it's more environmentally friendly to use leather than it is to use wood. Because
really,
cows grow quicker than trees. You know, it's a sad thing to say, but it's a fact of life. So that's one angle. But the main reason was it just felt right when we looked at it. We tried a number of different ways of doing leather and stuff, and we just felt right, and it felt like a good thing to do. There was one other synthesizer that had leather on the end cheeks, so it's not an entirely original idea, but yeah.
Does it worry you, the thought of possibly losing a sale of a vegetarian or a vegan?
If people want a wood on the ends, we can do that. We can do all sorts of things. We've got the molds, and we've got someone at the moment who's requested some special end cheeks, so we're making those up. So if they don't want leather, that's fine. We can substitute it for wood or something else.
So the Fatar keybed on there.
Yeah.
Is it synth weighted keys?
How do you mean synth weighted? Sorry.
So like some of them are rather light touch, and some of them have that kind of it's not hammer action, but
yeah. It's
semi-weighted.
So they describe it as a semi-weighted.
Yeah.
So it's not like a light touch like a classic. If you go for a synthesizer from the 80s, you have to look at the key and it starts playing a note. You've got to put a little bit of impetus behind the hitting of the key, but it's not a hard hammer action, so you're not going to get RSI from banging the keyboard every 5 minutes. But it's got a real nice natural feel to it, I think.
Yeah, it looks like it's just built like a tank too. How thick did you say that casing was?
The case itself is 1.6 millimeters steel, and it's powder coated paint as well. So it's designed to be solid and to last. I think the thing weighs in its box just under 17 kilos. So it's it's built solidly. It's built to last. There's a lot in there, and it needs protecting.
Now, are you providing any sort of digital effects or anything inside of the board?
So, excuse me. One of the things we realised from an early point in the thing, we wanted to include some bits and pieces. We thought about our customer base and spoke to a few people and customers and said, what do you think about this, and this? We are never going to compete with the Sony Oxford plugins or the Eventide reverbs. We just don't have that kind of resource behind us. So we're making a board that we're referring to as a digital I/O board. This will give you USB audio and USB MIDI. As a side effect of that, because it's got a processor and some memory, we're giving you some sort of bread and butter effects. So you'll be able to buy a board that slots in. It gives you this digital I/O stuff, and you'll get sort of phaser, flange, chorus, reverb, delay, the basic stuff. It's all going to be 192 kilohertz, 24-bit, but it's not going to be a £3,000 convolution reverb. It's
sure.
The main function of the board is to give you integration with your DAW.
Now, with that the digital output board, how many split outs are you hoping to get? Are you hoping to do an out per voice?
Yeah, so we can do 12 channels out over USB at 192.24-bit. So you'll be able to bring the voices out as individual digital channels, or you can pop it into a different mode and bring out sort of the main stereo mix, so the affected mix as well. You can also bring 2 channels of audio into the synthesizer as well, into the filters.
And you'll be able to use the analog outs while you're doing that as well?
Yep, yep.
So if you want a multi-track, you can do that.
Yeah, and the other thing to mention on the back, as well as the main left and right output, and the 2 audio inputs, there's a 15-way D-sub that actually allows you to break out all 12 voices in analog. So if you want pure analog, you've got the 12 voices direct out there. You can plug them straight into 12 channels on your desk, and you're off.
And that's and it's XLR output, XLR TRS combined, so you can get that balanced output.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of gigging, and the sound engineer used to come to me with 2 XLR cables and go, "Where do I plug these in?" It's like, you can't. So yeah, they hated me because I always needed their DI boxes. So this is something we were trying to do because we know a lot of professional musicians love using balanced stuff.
What are the actual knob caps made from? Are they plastic?
Yeah, they're aluminium or aluminum.
Oh, so it's completely. So it's not even. Okay, I thought maybe they were capped in.
No. Sorry, yeah, no. It's one piece that's turned and sort of chamfered and shaped. So yeah, it's one solid piece of aluminium.
Oh goodness.
So designed to last.
Very nice, very nice. Tell us a little bit about the screen on this as well, because one of the really nice aspects that kind of grabs your attention is the fact that this has a very readable, large graphical screen on it.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you look at synthesizers that have been released recently, they've got these tiny little 2-row by 16 character display. I mean, why? It's 2015. It's not the 1980s anymore. These things don't cost that much more, but they give you so much more value. And one of the things we wanted to do was to provide user feedback. So when you turn, say, the oscillator 1 waveform knob, you see the waveform change on the screen. You turn the filter cut off, you see the slope move up and down. So we wanted it to give you that feedback. And you know, we've got this nice big 480 by 270 pixel, or was it 480 by 240 pixel screen? So yeah, we've got a full color screen on this. We can do lots and lots of really cool things with it.
So when you were designing that, did you were you leaning towards any specific other synthesizers with screens that you were kind of drawing inspiration from? I know like the Alesis Ion has a really nice screen where it would show you the waveforms moving. I know I believe the Blofeld does as well. Was there anything that you were drawing inspiration from, or were you more looking at like plugins and how they tend to look, or?
It was a bit of everything, to be honest. It was how do we provide the useful information to the user that they need when they need it, which was the key thing. You know, you can have lots of menus and lots of screens that dive in and dive out, and it can get quite frustrating. So with this one, when you turn a knob, the screen jumps to that page and shows you it straight away. So it was kind of a bit of everything, but we wanted to show just the information you needed at that moment.
We are getting a question in the chat room, and they're asking something that I think is on a lot of people's minds, so I'm going to ask it. Any plans for less expensive options like a 6-voice or a rack version? It's
a good question. It's not one I can answer. I can say we're not a one-product company. We plan by the end of the year to have 4 or 5 products out, and we got stuff in the pipeline for next year's product line as well. So we're not just the one-off, but we've got some stuff coming out. So
now I'm gonna.
Can't say more than that. Sorry.
Did you just say 4 or 5 products?
Yeah, by the end of the year.
That's a significant amount of products to come out with starting from 1.
Well, yeah, but like I say, we're taking this very serious. This is we're here to stay, and we're going to make an impact. And I think we've caused a bit of a shake with in the industry with our approach and the whole cloud thing. So I think, yeah, you know, we're going to continue to rattle cages, and we're going to be here for a while.
That's a wonderful thing to hear. Now, Mike, on your end of things, you're going to be heading out to Music Messa, yeah?
Yes, I do.
Are you guys, Paul, planning on being at Music Messa?
Oh, yes, most definitely. We'll be there.
Yes,
So
and I always ask for a schedule, so I will have some, at least one video coming up with my hands on the keyboard.
Well, I mean, it's if as long as it's not quite as mad as it was at NAMM, I think we probably did between the four of us like 200 demos a day, and for 4 days it just didn't stop. You know, we naively thought we got 3 synths on the stand, one person can get a break every couple of hours and have a wander around. It didn't happen. I think the longest we got away from the stand was about 5 minutes, which was to go and grab a coffee or a burger. It was insane. I mean, it was really good, but it was pretty full on.
yeah, NAMM is a wonderful experience. If you've never done it, if you've never been there, and you're into gear, I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, I mean,
I really
I
don't like being around people, and then you should never go there.
yeah, I didn't sleep. I got there and I was on one, and I think I probably had 3 hours sleep a night for the whole time I was there, including the setup days and everything else. And on the plane on the way back, I just crashed.
Oh yeah.
It was a real rush. It was really great.
Now, I don't know how it was for you, but I know that every time I've gone out to NAMM, the plane ride out is filled with musicians, and everyone's talking, and everyone's having a good time. The plane ride back is like a plane ride back from Vegas. Everybody's quiet. Everybody's just...
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say on the way out, you could see people with their little suitcases. I think there was one people who took the same flight out, the same flight back, and they were selling. They had like drum kits and stuff with them. So yeah, you could see the people going out to NAMM and the people coming back. And yeah, on the way back, it was like right in a morgue. It was so quiet.
It's music gear hangover.
Oh yeah, most definitely, just total overload. But it was really good. So.
Let me ask you another question about a little bit more esoteric. What sort of music do you like to create?
Oh, blimey. What sort of music do I like to create? I think pretty much anything, really, to be honest. I've played in a rock band. I've played in a goth metal band. I've written my own electronic music. I've written rock tracks. I mean, pretty much anything. I just like playing. I mean, I was in a band and doing quite well, and it just got to the point where it's like, I love playing music, but I don't love it enough. So I left the band, and what I really love doing is building instruments. So, yeah, I know I'm really passionate about that. So, yeah, I mean, I dabble with music, but not really for me.
Sure. Now, Mike, any questions on your end before we head towards the end of the show here? We've got about 10 minutes left.
I think we got everything covered. Now, did we mention the price already?
The price is in U.S. dollars, $5,200. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
And you guys are working on expanding distribution in the U.S.
Yeah, we've already got a great dealer network around the UK, Germany, France, Australia, and some great, fantastic partners in the US. And it's growing all the time. And we will only talk to what we feel are the best dealers. We want our users to feel they're not just going into Walmart and buying a box. We want them to buy an experience, and that's important that our dealers engage with that. So.
And in Europe right now, what's the price in Europe?
Oh, blimey, hang on, you caught me out there. I'm not entirely sure.
The site says 2,995 British pounds or 3,795 euros.
That's right, yeah, that's plus tax, VAT, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. So and again, that the insides of this thing is really pretty packed solid with electronics. So I'm really looking forward to see what all you guys have on the horizon, but I don't see this thing becoming a whole heck of a lot smaller. I was really surprised by that because, like I said, you know, when we look at a lot of other synthesizers these days, you could pack them all flat in a box and you get these very tiny circuit boards. And this one, you really do see the discrete components on there. I mean, you know, I could instantly see that, you know, you have these voice boards and they're all individual. And there's very few other polyphonic analog synthesizers of that style that you get to see like that, and most of them are very big like that. you know, of the older ones. Like I'm thinking of like the studio electronic stuff, like the Omega, you know, with its own separate big chunky voice cards.
Yeah.
So
It's again, it's a compromise. You've got to get it right. If you want, I firmly believe, if you want the quality of sound, you've got to spend some time doing the circuit and getting it right. Cutting corners by using special chips, it's never going to work. It might get your product cheaper, but you're going to miss something on that sound. And take apart a CS80 or a Jupiter 8 and have a look inside. It's rammed, and it's rammed for a good reason, because it's proper electronics. We're not cutting corners. We're not using DSP. We're not, you know, it's good, solid electronics.
is there any aspect about this thing that kind of, you know, as you're building it, just kind of really put you through the ringer and really just drove you mad?
Oh, blimey. I'm just trying to think. I think the thing that took us the longest was working out how we were going to attach the leather to the case. I think that was the thing that probably took us the longest out of the whole thing. And we went through probably 6 or 7 designs, 6 or 7 different shapes of the ends, and trying to contact people to get the shapes made. And yeah, that was probably the most challenging part of the whole thing, to be honest.
So I'm getting a question in the chat room asking if the variable sample rate oscillator is similar to the BLIT method, the BLIT method, which I'm not necessarily familiar with. So
yeah, no, it's not. I can understand where they're coming from, but there's no band limiting in here at all.
Oh, band limited. Okay, I got you.
There's another question here in the Synthesizer Freaks group, asking if you have any plans to do a standalone sequencer. Can you tell that? Are you allowed? Or
I couldn't possibly comment, but I mean, yeah, I couldn't possibly comment. Well, like I say, we've got products coming, so yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I think we're just about ready to wrap it up. So before we do, I'm just going to say a few different things. One is I'm going to ask for, let me think, the first person in the Producers Hangout group that we're in who can post what the name of the blue synthesizer that Paul built by hand, post that name in the chat, and they will win a free Flux With It expansion pack. And the reason I'm doing that is because we recently hit 6,000 members on the Producers Hangout group, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for watching, thank you to everybody for joining and talking, and we've had some really interesting discussions as of late. So I want to, you know, if you guys get that right, you know, the first person is getting a free sample pack.
I enter that one.
What's that?
I enter.
No. I'll tell you what. You can enter, but you're gonna have to send me a full-size version of one of these.
Touche.
But you will get a Flux expansion in return, so it's a great deal.
Again, the build quality is far better than my version here.
Yeah.
Okay? I promise you that.
It's not 1.6 millimeter steel you got in your hand there.
No, this is not 1.6 millimeter steel. Yeah. So, and these ends are not leather.
No.
But yeah, in general, I just want to say that we've had over the past year, we've had the group has grown really fast. We've you know, we've struggled with getting rid of riffraff and people spamming in the group a ton. But we've also had wonderful discussions. We've met a lot of wonderful people. We've learned a lot together, which is great. And you know, we've got a lot of people in there that are very knowledgeable, a lot of people in there that are just starting out, and a lot of people in between. And it's just wonderful to see everybody helping each other out. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I'm going to pass this over to Mike and let him say some closing words as well.
Yeah, I want to say thank you guys. 6,000 members is amazing. And actually, we had our first birthday in January, so maybe we will come up next show with something special. I got something in mind, but I need to talk with the other guys about it. So yeah, thank you guys. If you're not already a member of the movement, I mean 6,000 members, we can really call it a movement now. head over to facebook.com/group/the Producers Hangout and join us. And yeah, thanks again, really, and thanks to all the admins who really take care of all the spamming and keep the group clean and keep the people calm when they get it heated discussions. So yeah, really cool. I really enjoyed hanging out in the group.
And Paul, any
Yeah.
last words?
I just wanted to say thanks. I mean, it's thanks to you guys for helping us, and thanks to all our customers for buying our product. It's always been a long dream of mine to build a polysynth, and to be able to produce something of this quality, working with the team we have, which is absolutely fantastic and one of the best teams in the world, is just beyond a dream come true. And yeah, and it's thank you guys for letting me come on the show and for boring you with all the technical stuff. Yeah, and it's been great, and yeah, I hope to see you again. Maybe we'll have a chat, Mike, at Frankfurt.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
All right, everyone. This has been episode number 26 of the Producers Hangout. Our next show, we've got another wonderful guest lined up. And I just want to say from fluxwithit.com, the Producers Hangout, padbangers.com, Modulus Electronics, thank you, everyone, for watching, and have a great week.
Cheers.
Peace out.
Bye.